Dunn Scholarship is Gabriel Colon. The recipient of the Gerald I. and Nadine Greek Scholarship, Michael Ruger. The recipient of the Rhonda and Mike Mernan Scholarship is Ashley Johnson. The first recipient of the Colonel John T. Hoffman U.S. Marine Corps Reserve Scholarship, Lindsay Von Fossen. The recipient of the Habash Luskowski Scholarship is Rachel Lucina. The recipient of the Professor John F. Gilmartin Scholarship is Caitlin Bentley. Two recipients of the Friends of the Department of History Scholarship are Carly Nixon and Madison Melinek. And three recipients of the Professor Alan R. Millett Scholarship are Brianna Connor, Haley Edgecombe, and Scott Duvall.
Congratulations.
And the reason why we gave priority privilege to the announcement of the undergraduate study abroad scholarships is that this group was invited by the Office of President Gordon Gee to come in today and meet the president for a photo op and chat at 4:30. We couldn't get him to change the time. We didn't want to change our time, so we agreed to give them first spotlight today, and they will now be slipping off to make their way back across the oval. So thank you for that. Thank you. I'd like to continue by taking a moment to introduce several friends and benefactors of our department who've been very generous in their support to various scholarships and awards that so greatly ease the burden of our undergraduate and graduate students. As I call the names of those who are with us this afternoon, I invite each guest to raise a hand so that we could recognize them. Allow me to begin by announcing Doris Mudrock. Is Doris present? Doris, thank you very much. Some of you might remember, by the way, that a year ago we recognized Bernie Mudrock on the occasion of his having won, back in 1955, the Outstanding OSU History Major Award from the College of Arts and Sciences. Bernie was here, and we surprised him with that announcement. Pulled out a copy of the certificate. I'm very sorry to report, actually, that Bernie passed away over the winter, and so we extend our condolences to Doris this afternoon.
Sympathy.
Second, I'd like to introduce Ann Lynch, the widow of Professor Joseph Lynch of the Lynch Scholarship. Ann, welcome. And next to Ann is Professor Emerita Carol Rogel, who's been a supporter of the Philip Poirier Graduate Award. At the same table here to my right are Clarence and Jane Cunningham. Clarence was the executor of the Genevieve Brown Gist Scholarship Fund. And in a moment, I'll introduce to you the family of Sean Judge. As many of you know, Lieutenant Colonel Judge was a Ph.D. from our program in 2011. He wrote a dissertation under the leadership of Joe Gilmartin and others. And then tragically, about a year later, meaning last summer in 2012, Sean passed away at way too young of an age. He was interred at Arlington National Cemetery in October. Friends and fellow students and former faculty members of Sean have launched a campaign to endow Lieutenant Sean Judge Scholarship in perpetuity, and also gave gifts that will enable us this afternoon to initiate that award with an inaugural winner to be announced later this afternoon. I would like to introduce to you Mary and David Penant. Mary is Sean's mother, David his stepfather, and Kathleen Martin, who is his aunt. Welcome them this afternoon. I would also like to conclude by acknowledging two donors in absentia. Mr. John Kaufman, who earned a BA from our history department in 1960, as many of you know, had previously given a gift of $250,000, which enabled us to give annually 2 Kaufman Family Graduate Fellowships in American History. There will be two of those awards announced later this afternoon. I'm delighted to announce today for the first time that Mr. Kaufman has given an additional gift of $200,000 to the Kaufman Family Fund, which will enable us to nearly double the support that we offer to students on an annual basis. John could not be present this afternoon, but I think it'd be appropriate for us to recognize his generosity with a round of applause. And then a final announcement. Several years ago, Professor of History Emeritus John Rule endowed the Elaine S. and John C. Rule Fund to support doctoral students conducting research in Western Europe, one of whom will win the Rule Scholarship in 2013 later today. Of course, we mourn the loss of John Rule since he passed away on January 12th of this year. With something of a bittersweet feel, I'm announcing today that John bequeaths his house and his substantial library to the Department of History. Once the tangible assets of that gift are liquidated, the contribution will be invested in the Elaine S. and John C. Rule Fund, and its impact on our ability to support research in Western Europe will be quite substantial. Rather than a round of applause, please join me in a very brief moment of silence in honor of John Rule. Thank you. I also wish to acknowledge 4 of our colleagues who were selected by the Bradley Foundation this year as administrators of grants to graduate students. The foundation contributed $100,000 for the distribution to our students in military history broadly defined. The Bradley Award winners will be announced later today. Please join me now in recognizing the 4 faculty who oversee this program of the Bradley Foundation: Joe Gilmartin, Pete Mansour, Jeffrey Parker, and Jennifer Siegel. Maybe each of you can stay. I would also like to thank our excellent Director of Graduate Studies, Professor Robin Judd, especially for the reason that she agreed to stay on this year for an unprecedented 3rd year as Director of Graduate Studies. That's clearly above and beyond the call of duty. Robin agreed to do that to ensure a smooth transition through semester conversion. Robin, of course, is very ably assisted by Mr. Jim Bach, who's also present this afternoon. Jim is there. Robin is back here to the right. Please join me in giving them a round of applause. This afternoon, we'll be recognizing and giving some awards to undergraduates. So on that note, I'd like to thank and acknowledge 3 colleagues who are instrumental in the success of our undergraduate program. The chair of the Undergraduate Teaching Committee, Randy Roth. Our honors coordinator, Professor David Stebbin. I don't think he's here. And our undergraduate history coordinator, Ms. Maria Mazan. Chaired by Professor Jeffrey Parker, the Awards and Prizes Committee has worked very hard this year making important decisions about various prizes and awards that we're extending this afternoon. One more round of applause, please, for Professor Parker and his colleagues on the Awards and Prizes Committee. And finally, among the department staff, Ms. Christina Ward and Ms. Chris Burton have both been instrumental in putting together today's program in organizing the very complicated paperwork and in writing all of those checks. Christina's in there, and Chris is. This spring, 5 history majors were invited to present their research at the very prestigious Denman Undergraduate Research Forum. Their names and the titles of their research projects are listed in your program booklet. One of them, Katie Straley, is here today with her poster. She's back to my right, and I encourage you to stop by, inspect her work, and ask her questions about her project. Katie, if you could maybe give us a wave, we'll recognize you and the others who are not here this afternoon for your outstanding achievement. And finally, it's my privilege to welcome to this podium Professor Judd, who will talk about the graduate program.
Thank you, everyone, and welcome. It has been an incredibly exciting, albeit slightly tumultuous year as we transitioned into semesters. With it, we saw a new format for our candidacy exams. We introduced one entirely new course, a prospectus writing course, and we rethought and revamped a second course, merging together questions of professionalization and grant writing with teaching and pedagogy. We saw a sped up admissions cycle as well as a university grant cycle. And despite all of these changes, we witnessed an incredibly impressive year. We had 2 presidential award winners, 1 Chu, 1 Riley Award honorable mention, 19 college small grant awards. I think we may have been the department to have won the most of those. 3 semester off fellowships, 17 Ph.D. completions, and we have forthcoming at least 1 Fulbright winner, an ACLS, a Tinker, a Day Out Day, several Presidential Library Fellowship winners, 6 classes, and 1 Office of the Secretary of Defense Fellows. So to all of you, congratulations. We have placed our PhDs in large public universities and small liberal arts colleges, as well as at the Department of Defense. And our incoming cohort looks equally strong. This year we saw nearly 280 applications. We nominated 23 students for fellowships. Of those 23, 21 were given fellowships from the graduate school, and at least one was given, who's coming, is going to be receiving a multi-year fellowship, and we admitted 12 students as TAs. Next year we'll see 6 TAs, 11 fellows, and 4 unfunded students joining our ranks. It's going to be an incredible cohort, and I will look forward to seeing all of them in my new capacity as not graduation. I want to hand the floor over to Professor Parker, not yet. I'm giving you a warning. But I wanted to hand the floor over to him to extend all of the awards that of which you are so deserving. But I wanted to say a word or two of thanks. The graduate program this year was as strong as it was because of a number of people. First of all, the members of this year's Graduate Studies Committee, Pete Mansour, Yu Zhang, Alice Conklin, Carter Finley, Chris Reed, Hassan Jeffries, and Jody McDowell. And also the members of this year's GSAC Committee, Kara Barr, Mark Boonshaft, Ryan McMahon, Jessica Wallace, Daniel Watkins, and Rebecca Federico. I need, not just want, but need to add an additional note of thanks to Rebecca, who has worked with me quite closely over the past 2 years. Rebecca has not only contributed actively to the work of the Graduate Studies Committee, but she has also worked with me to redesign Visitation Day and Orientation, organize the Graduate Student Home Hospitality for Visitation Day, and with Daniel Watkins and Jim Bach, revise the Graduate Student Handbook. One of the things that I'm going to miss most about next year will be the chance to work with her. So thank you, Rebecca. And the graduate program has benefited tremendously from my partner in bureaucracy of the graduate school and college. He shepherds all of you through your course credits, exams, and whatnot, and yet he always seems to have what it is that I need at his fingertips, or if he doesn't have it, find a way to procure it. While he probably will look forward to having a few weeks or months without my saying, let's take a step back and evaluate this, it has been a joy, a real joy, for me to get up on that balcony with him time and time again to watch the dance below. Thank you. Thanks to all of you. I hope that you know that I am incredibly proud of your many accomplishments. And I hope that over the course of today and the coming weeks, when things calm down a little bit as we move into May and April is behind us, you too are able to get onto that balcony, look down at the dance floor, and appreciate all that you've accomplished. Thank you.
I'm going to veer off script for just a moment and recognize Rebecca Poverito to come forward.
Good afternoon, everyone. For the past 2 years, I've had the honor and privilege of serving alongside Dr. Robin Judd on the Graduate Studies Committee. I have thus seen firsthand the dedication and compassion she has exhibited in her 3 years as Graduate Studies Chair. There's been no problem too big or too small for her to tackle, no bureaucracy or red tape she feared to challenge on our behalf. On behalf of the Graduate Student Advisory Committee and the Graduate Student Body, I thank her for her 3 years of hard work and sacrifice on our behalf, and I'd like to present her with a small token of our appreciation.
Professor Jeffrey Parker, the Andreas Dorpalen Professor of History, who will, in his capacity as Chair of Awards and Prizes, read the winners of our graduate awards.
Good afternoon. I hope I will have as much success as Robin and Rebecca in getting the excitement level from the air conditioners. It rises as they sit down. Nice to get some.
Don't worry. You couldn't do it alone.
You know I can't do it alone. So it's my pleasure as Chair of the Awards and Prizes to give out a lot of checks. Actually, that's why you come up here. That's what it is. I know. But first I want to thank the other members of my committee, particularly Christina Ward, who did all the hard work, Tim Gregory, Jenny Siegel, David Hoffman. All right, so I go through these in the order which we have them, unless I've gone differently. First of all, the Robert Brenner Awards. We have 2 winners, Mark Boonshoft and Hideaki Hemi. The Andreas Dorpalen Award, named after the man who also endowed my chair, Paul Mierzejowski. Foster Ray Dulles Award goes to Scott Ward. The Sidney Fisher Memorial Award goes to Bilga Ostrup. Dissertation Research Award in Women's History for Avian Finance. 2 winners of the Ruth Higgins Award, Sanja Kadrich and Ian Johnson. Sean Judge Award, which we're giving today in honor of our fallen colleague and comrade, Lieutenant Colonel Sean Judge. The Helen and Harold Capital Research Award goes to Amanda Bundy. And the Bradley Caston Award to John Perry. We have a number of winners for the Department of History Summer Research Award. I'm going to read all the names and then all of you come up and we'll record you all. Jason Drake, Kirsten Hildonan, John Johnson, John Knight, Elizabeth Marble, Andrea Ottone, Hunter Price, Margaret Solik, Brian Swain, and Dan Van Sons. Congratulations. Two winners of the Kaufman Family Award in American History, Delia Fernandez and Cameron Schreiber. T&E Lee Prize goes to Austin Dean. The Joseph H. Lynch Award, both to Jason Drake and Rebecca Favorito. Rebecca also wins the Philip Poirier Award. Once again, we have a number of awards made possible by the Retrieving the American Past program. Matthew Ambrose, Austin Dean, Sarah Douglas, Noel Foster, Sandra Kadrich, Ryan McMahon, Marcus Nebius, Patrick Potiondi, Patrick Scharf, Abby Schreiber, Gulsta Toranoglu, Spencer Tice, Jeffrey Vernon, Joe Vachtal, and Lisa Zavorich. The Elaine S. and John C. Rule Award goes to Cara Barr. The Henry Sims Award to Mark Bunshaw. And the Alan and Helga Wildman Memorial Award to Kristen Hildonas. Have a number of names again. These are awarded by, or made possible by the Lynd and Harry Bradley Foundation of Milwaukee, who every year give us, if we're very well behaved, give us $100,000 to support military history broadly defined. And those who win this year, and I'm going to read all their names in alphabetical order: Matthew Ambrose, Aisha Baltasoglu Bramna, Frank Blazich, Zachary Fry, Jamie Goodall, David Hadley, Lauren Henry, Stephanie Honchel, Ian Johnson, Sandra Kadrich, Hideaki Kami, Paul Neabredowski, Elizabeth Perego, John Perry, Daniel Troy, Peter Vanderpuy, William Waddell, and Corbin Williamson. Okay, and now we move on. Well, what about a round of applause for all our graduate prize winners? So now we move on to the undergraduate prize winners. The Lloyd Roberts Evans Scholarship goes to Michael Ruger. Randy, if you could come and give us a hand because you're up next. Yes, you, Rob. Jerry D. Guthrie Scholarship goes to Kevin Bloomfield. Marjorie Hafner Memorial Scholar to Thomas Shigetti. And the Adrian and Marvin Zarnizer Scholarship to John Lindsay. And finally, the Lois Kemp Schinkel Memorial Scholarship is shared between Caitlin Lennon, John Lindsay, and Diana Volitich. Okay, before I hand over to Randy and Professor Roth, I'd like to thank the donors, many of whom are with us here today, without whom we wouldn't be having this ceremony. Between us, I think we've handed out well over $250,000 in grants to graduates and undergraduates, and it just would not be possible without the generosity of our friends, our faculty. Though it's one of the advantages of being here 17 years is I remember many of the donors, or those in whom the prizes have been gifted, and I would personally like to thank each and every one who has contributed to make all of this possible and to promote the studies of our graduates and our undergraduates. Thank you.
Well, thanks very much. I want to thank our students for being so interested in overseas study. The undergraduate teaching committee was able to give out 6 awards this year to help fund overseas study. And I'd like to thank my colleagues, Professor Beach and Professor Steven, for helping me go through the applications. We have 6 winners, and I know 3 of them are with President Gee right now, so we may be short. I'd like to mention then our winners. Stephen Jahura, Ashley Johnson, Sarah Katrinich, Rachel Lysina, Michael Ruger, and Emily Webster.
Thank you, Jeffrey, Robin, and Rich. We're privileged in the Department of History to have an active chapter of the Phi Alpha Theta National History Honorary. Advised by Dr. Rich Ugeland, Phi Alpha Theta annually presents the Clio Award for Distinguished Teaching in History to a faculty member and to a graduate teaching assistant. To present this year's Clio Awards, I welcome to the podium the Vice President of Phi Alpha Theta, Josh Hinderleiter. Josh.
Thank you very much. Each year, Phi Alpha Theta sponsors the Clio Awards to recognize outstanding teaching by both professors and graduate teaching assistants within the history department. This is a great opportunity for the student body to thank the educators who have really made a difference during their undergraduate careers. I'm very thankful to say that I have had the opportunity to personally work with both of this year's award winners and can attest to the positive impact they can have on their students. During the nomination process this year, students spoke highly about the passion and commitment both of these individuals exemplify. It is with great pride that on behalf of Phi Alpha Theta, I present the Clio Awards this year to Dr. David Stebbin and Dan Curzon.
Thank you, Josh. As the academic year ends every year with an event called commencement, we're reminded of the rhythms of academic life. Students pass through our department, they earn our respect and admiration, they collect their degrees, and then they move on to conquer new frontiers. With this thought, I congratulate and wish all best fortune to the newly graduated seniors who are with us this afternoon and to the newly minted MA and PhDs listed in our program. This spring will also mark a commencement of a different sort for several of our faculty colleagues. First, I'd like to recognize the inestimable contributions of two faculty who will pursue their careers along paths leading away from Ohio State. Professor Dan Amsterdam of the OSU Mansfield campus, who has accepted a position at Georgia Tech University, and Professor Kevin Boyle, who's accepted a position at Northwestern. I know Kevin's here. I don't think that Dan is present, but join me in recognizing these two. We also celebrate this spring the retirement of 6 distinguished colleagues who, in departing our department from last summer through this spring, will take with them 155 years of experience at Ohio State and collectively 241 years of experience in the profession. Jim Bartholomew, who retired in December after 42 years, Alan Byershin, who retired last summer after 35 years in our department, David Cressy, retiring last December after 14 years, Donna Guy will leave us this summer after 12 years, Dick Shields this spring after 37 years, and Dale Van Clay this spring after 15 years. Please join me in letting these colleagues know how much we appreciate them. And that concludes our program for this afternoon. Congratulations to all of the winners. Thank you for coming, and please stay for a long time enjoying the bar. Thank you. Have a nice evening.